Hey guys, Apex Legends comes out in only 5 days. So in this video, I'm going to give you a complete overview of Frostborn versus Apex Legends. So the first big difference that everyone knows is that Apex Legends is huge, right? It's a AAA game, one of the biggest games out there. In fact, it is the #1 game I mentioned in this video, which now has almost 500,000 views. Frostborn, on the other hand, is not a big game. I mean, there was a time that I thought it might become a big game, might become really popular, and you know, it did get millions of views, but nothing like Apex Legends. It is a small game, and the developers of this game are Ukrainian, so right now they are, defending their home with their lives, and so the game has not really done a whole lot of updates. So that's a big difference between these two games. Apex Legends is new and exciting and big AAA game, whereas Frostborn is going to be a small game developer company that is not going to be able to do a lot of updates until the war is over. So obviously that is a huge win for Apex Legends. It's got a lot of momentum, but there are a few things that Frostborn has, in its favor. One of the biggest things that Frostborn has in its favor is its sense of progression. And what I mean by that is when you play Frostborn and you go into a zone and you collect resources, yes, there can be some PvP. There can be, not in this zone specifically, but in zones there will be some PvP. But everything you get in this zone, you can take home. It's not like Apex Legends where you go in, you start out with nothing, and then you get, some stuff, and you get to keep some awards and stuff. But ultimately, the next time you go in, you're going to be starting over pretty much from scratch. Maybe you unlock a few things. Maybe you obviously gain some talents and some skills, but in Frostborn, every tree that I farm, every rock that I gather, is going to end up giving me that permanent progression. And there is something about that, something that attracts us to a lot of survival games and stuff. It's just attractive to us to be able to say, oh, I'm getting something done. Sometimes we play video games for the idea of kind of just feeling that sense of accomplishment. Maybe life isn't giving us that sense of accomplishment that we were hoping for, and this game gives us that. Now, another thing that this game does that is similar to Apex Legends is, you've got all these different classes, and there we go. There's a lot of different classes in Frostborn. There's more classes in Frostborn than there are in Apex Legends, but there we go. So this zone is not a PvP zone, which if it was, I would probably be dead, because this guy wants to trade with me. Often you can get scammed in this game if you trade. That's another thing that's different about Frostborn than something like Apex Legends. I'm not gonna put anything in there. He's just gonna take it. He's just gonna take it and run. But you actually can trade things, whereas in Apex Legends you can't really trade items. You unlock something, that's your unlock. You're not gonna be able to give your unlocked gun to someone else. And so that's another thing, kind of fits into that category of a sense of progression. If you like that sense of progression, this game has a really good sense of progression. And then if you are good at challenges, which I realize a lot of people aren't, but if you can do the Sanctum mode, it's one of the hardest challenges in all mobile gaming, and if you complete it, you get crazy rewards. And again, all of that is yours to keep. Put it in your base, you protect it from others. Whereas in Apex Legends, you get some rewards and stuff and some skins, but ultimately you're starting over every game. Now, but this leads us into another advantage of Apex Legends, and that is when you get into Apex Legends, its replay value is phenomenal. So if I go in here, let's say I'm going to do this yellow zone. Actually, I'm not going to go to it yet. If I go to that PvP zone and I go in and I'm going to get some resources, I do have quite a bit of replay value in this game because it's not always the same. Like sometimes I go into the zone and it's kind of quiet. I get some resources, I get some good stuff, and then I go home, bring it home, build some walls. But And then sometimes I might get attacked by someone, and maybe I'll beat them, maybe they beat me. There's a lot of diversity in that. Okay, hold on. Before I do this, I'm gonna go ahead and turn in this. So this is how you get classes in Frostborn. It is more grindy. Okay, Apex Legends, you can have fun in this game right away, but this game definitely has a lot more. Frostborn has quite a bit more grinding to it, and there we go. We turned all that in. I'll keep the rest of this stuff on and go ahead and mount up. Again, everything you get in this game you get to keep forever, which is, it really gives you that sense of progression. But if you want just action, you just want to have fun, and you want to have a lot of fun in a moment, Frostborn can have some dull moments. Like, I'm about to go in this zone. I don't know what I'm gonna expect, so let's see what happens. But Apex Legends, you know, you're gonna run into other people to fight, and in Frostborn, you don't know that. Like, you can sometimes get these items, but sometimes you go in and sometimes you find someone that you're like, oh, I can beat this guy, and then you not only get the items in the zone, but you also get their items, which is pretty awesome. But then sometimes it's like this, you know, you can play for, I mean, there's been times I've played Frostborn for 15 minutes or more, and it is like nothing. I don't see a single person in any of the zones. Nothing really happens. So it can be a little lame. Whereas with Apex Legends, you click launch for that game, you're gonna end up having a blast right away. You know what to expect. You drop into that island, you know what weapons you're looking for, you know that you're gonna be fighting a lot of people. Some of them might be bots, but ultimately there's always gonna be something to do, someone to kill, someone to move. And then when you get that first place, you get that sense of satisfaction, and that creates a lot of replay value, because then you just click launch again and you go at it again and again and again. I could never do it that long on these zones. Like, it's fun to get those resources and bring them home. And if I have a goal, like in my house, if I'm really wanting to upgrade my walls or upgrade my chest, or, you know, here, I'll show you some of this. You know, like if I'm wanting to upgrade some of my, especially like workbenches, man, that's a lot of fun. And I'd say I can go back to that zone over and over and over again for a while. But eventually I get tired of going back to that zone. And because I don't know if I'm going to get PvP, which sometimes if I want PvP, like in Apex Legends, I want the PvP, I can go get the PvP. But in Frostborn, you don't know. Like, sometimes you're just going to get a farming zone. So that's what makes Frostborn really fun, is when you want to farm, then you might get ganked, and you have to be ready for that. But what makes Frostborn annoying is when you don't want to farm. When you're bored of farming, then you can't just go get PvP. They haven't added an arena in this game. I've asked them to add an arena many times. They've said they would consider it, but ultimately they're not going to. And then the war started, which has prevented them from doing any updates on the game for over 2 months now. So Apex Legends honestly probably won't come out with that many updates either. But I mean, they may come out with some, but it's like a little new map, or they're not big changes. You know, this game, when it would come out with updates, I mean, they'd add new areas, new concepts, new classes. They'd add a lot of new content sometimes, and whereas Apex Legends is not going to add a ton of new content with their updates. So for graphics, you know, one of the things that is pretty impressive about Frostborn is they've got the 60 frames per second. Apex Legends is going to have that as well. The graphics are different, right? I mean, Apex Legends is a first-person shooter. This is a survival game. You're looking at it you really have to look at it from different angles. But you can see here that, you know, this game has some really good graphics, and so it can kind of compete with the best of the best out there. If you've got a good phone that can handle good graphics, obviously the top-down view looks different than running through a world, but you know, you're gonna be satisfied with the graphics of this game. And then lastly, the last kind of area of comparison is free to play, like how free to play the game is. And this is just a huge win for Apex Legends. Apex Legends, you know, when you look at the shop in Frostborn, you can get, I mean, almost, you know, you can buy stuff that, you know, like this right here, like it would take so long to go and gather those resources, and it's $5. You know, you can get some pretty crazy stuff pretty quickly. In fact, you can even get more intense stuff. Like this would take 1,000 hours to go grind. And now it's not cheap, but 1,000 hours is a lot of hours. So actually, you know what? They did add a northern zone, which makes it maybe not 1,000 hours, maybe 300 hours. But still, that's a lot of hours of grinding to get something that someone can just pay for and get a huge advantage over you. So the game really, this is a huge win for Apex Legends. Also, the runes that you can get in these classes, like right here, these runes, they're, you know, you can just buy them, and you can't get enough of them unless you spend money. So the game is really pay to win in comparison to Apex Legends, but a lot of us that play it, we still really love it. It is the best of its type. So if you're looking for co-op, you know, having 4 players together on a little plot, and especially if you're like a family going and playing and you like that survival, you like that sense of progression, that's what Frostborn's advantage is that sense of progression. You going out with your family member into a zone, gathering those resources. They say, I'm being attacked, and then y'all try to like gang up on the guy who's attacking you. It's a lot of fun. Great sense of progression. But ultimately, especially if you're solo, Apex Legends is going to be the best. It's going to allow you to know what you want and get what you want. Long term, this game might be more fun than Apex Legends in the short term, but eventually you're going to get to the point where you're not going to, as soon as you stop wanting to farm or go get resources, once that happens, the game will just be not even close to as fun as Apex Legends. Well, that's it. Obviously, I would have showed you footage of Apex Legends, but it does not come out for 5 more days. When it does, I'm definitely going to be covering it on this channel. All right, guys, I'll see you next time.